All right. So, I mean, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Custom. I'm Carl Fisher. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about, I guess this is kind of like story time. You know, this is going to be a little bit of history on myself in metal shaping and kind of how I went about learning some of the things I've learned. So, my objective of this is just to kind of like let you guys in on a little bit of my background, as well as hopefully make it a little less scary to jump into metal shaping if that's something that you're interested in. So don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. Let's get into it. Okay, so my metal shaping experience, I feel really grateful to have had the struggles that I've had throughout metal shaping. I think it's pretty cool that metal shaping has been able to teach me so much about not just metal shaping, but just about learning and about pursuing something that you're interested in, like about passion. It's just really cool. So I'm very grateful and thankful for metal shaping itself. And I'm very grateful and thankful for all the people that share their talent with the world in metal shaping to continue its existence as a craft. I think it's really important, especially in kind of today's world where we have so much technology and like this, it's debatable about what, technology itself, but what I'm trying to say is that in a world where everything is so automatic and we have all these, luxuries and things that make life easier, it's easy to forget the craft and hard work that people had to put in to be skilled enough to call themselves metal shapers or craftsmen. I want to clear something up as well, is that I try and tell people that metal shaping is easy and whatever, and I'm trying to like make it a little bit more simple for everybody to get into, and I don't want that to be confused with becoming a metal shaper. I feel like that, I don't feel, and that's why I also say in the channel, I don't, I'm pretty green at this, and I'm not there yet. I've got a long way to go, and that's referring to myself as someone who metal shapes, but I'm not quite a metal shaper yet. That is, in my opinion, somebody who's kind of like mastered the craft, like the people that I really look up to, like, Christian Sosa and, Aiden and from Bespoke Coach Works and Mike Wagner. And there's just so many of them, and so I want to make it clear that, there's so many of these people that have shared their talents with the world and taught so many through YouTube, through making videos, like Ron Covell made videos, before YouTube. It's really cool. So thank you to all those people. Every metal shaper out there that shares their talent with the world and doesn't quite, try to hoard their knowledge. I don't think there's very many of those people out there, but I think it's important to keep perpetuating the craft itself, and that's kind of like what this video is a little bit about, is kind of my thoughts on metal shaping, I guess. I get a lot of questions in the comments about it, so I'd like to just kind of maybe open up about it. I really don't have a script for this video. So anyway, when I was younger, I did really want to learn as much as I could about metal shaping and about metal working, not just metal shaping. I want to be able to build anything I can think of, and that's the beauty of learning a new tool, or learning a new skill, or learning a different language in which to talk to metal. And so when I was in like high school, it was during biker build-offs and Jesse James and Orange County Choppers and Indian Larry and Billy Lane and like all these wicked chopper builders, right? And Monster Garage. I was really into Junkyard Wars. But Biker Build Off, that was a really, really cool show that got me very interested, because here's these guys, and like they put this kind of time crunch on it, and I know it's reality TV and whatnot, but the fact that it was real people building real bikes under a real deadline, and having to have them done, and just the way they filmed it, like they bikes caught on fire and stuff, like these guys are so skilled at building these, like Indian Larry especially is kind of like one of my favorites, like seeing him twist, like every technique that a guy has, it's another, way to articulate your thoughts into the material, and watching Indian Larry twist square bar for his pieces on his bikes, or use chain for a frame instead, and come up with a new way to build a frame because you had the idea to make it out of chain. Like these things were like really kind of like opening my mind as to like what is possible when you have the skill to talk to metal. Jesse James, like annealing aluminum and building his Frisco chopper tanks and stuff, like seeing that was just kind of like, whoa, this is magic, right? But for me as like a young kid, like I built this blockage in my brain about metal shaping, that it was this like lost art that couldn't be learned unless you had somebody take you under their wing and show you everything, and you had to commit to this long apprenticeship of like, and I had thought of all this, just because I just didn't know, what, I didn't know that you could just try it and get into it. And I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I built up this blockage in my head about it. So like from that younger age, I kind of stuck to what I knew. I took welding school. I excelled in welding a little bit, and got into TIG welding, and I had the opportunity to work for Brett Williamson. He's one of my mentors. I'll say that. I worked for him. He had a garbage compactor company. I met a lot of good friends working there too. So I heavy steel fabrication, like that was my jam. That's what they kind of train you for when you're a welder in school, and so I loved it. I already knew how to cut stuff up and kind of build things. So I was, no problem making garbage compactors and chutes for garbage and stuff, like bending up big sheets of metal. Is a lot of fun. But Brett Williamson also had a drag car. He had a couple, cool hot rods as well, and this great shop. And he kind of like took me under his wing a little bit. I wouldn't say like, yeah, I guess so. He was a mentor to me. He hired me to, after work, go work out of his place, and I'd figure things out, and he was there to, like he couldn't really weld so much anymore. Like he had a little bit of, nerve damage or something, so he wasn't, into TIG welding. So I'd kind of take over TIG welding little things for him, and he'd make up little brackets, and he was, incredibly into like neat hardware and aircraft supply, and all his stuff was just like really, like we're talking like 6-second drag cars, and he was kind of a one-man show. He had people to help here and there, but he was, a one-man show. At the track, they called him the garbage man. He wasn't sponsored by anybody. He was just out there, trying to shoot as much nitrous into a motor as he could. But anyway, I remember the first thing that he asked me to do, after working at his shop, was he asked me to get these giant wheels on his wife's Ferrari. They were like newer Ferrari wheels. He wanted to put on this like older Pininfarina body style Ferrari. I don't even know what it is, because I don't know a ton about Ferraris, but it involved like cutting up the A-arms a little bit, and like making chromoly brackets to mount narrower coilovers into this car so that wider wheels had a place to be. And I kind of like, was like, oh yeah, I can TIG weld and stuff, and, and he let me do all that, and and he saw potential in me. So, you know, if you want to get into metal shaping, it's in not just metal shaping, but any kind of metal work or any kind of thing like that. It does help to, you know, be open to opportunity. You got to be open to the opportunity of you know, helping somebody or sweeping the shop or doing whatever you got to do to kind of learn. And that's what I did there. Anything he asked me to work on, like I would just, yep, even if it's something I didn't want to do, yep. So, you know, like I'm very lucky to have people like that. There's more than one person as well. Like, you know, before him, Don Schwab, he was, Don Schwab is like one of the first guys to kind of like show me a thing or two, and it was because I kind of brought something to the table. I was really good at welding. You know, I was able to take this program in high school that it was through ITA, Industry Training Authority, I think. It's called the Partnership Program. Last half of grade 11, first half of grade 12, I got to go do my C-level welding, like whole year off high school, go do that. So if your schools have anything like that, I mean, that gave me a foot in the door right away, because I brought a skill to the table. I was, you know, I was done schooling and welding and graduated. So like anybody that needed something welded, they could be confident, even if I knew nothing else about anything else. But, you know, I was very interested in metal fabrication, so it was all good. But, so yeah, Don Schwab, we worked on hot rods together. I helped him with an air ride job. That went well. We kept, you know, working together and welding and stuff like that. So him, Brett Williamson, you know, doing the drag car thing. I also learned what I didn't like. Like I'm not personally into drag racing on a competitive level. I respect and admire all the engineering and craft that goes into it, but it's not really my thing. But I learned tons about metal fabrication by being there and doing whatever needed to be done. You know, after that, I did have a little bit of my own sort of thing going on. I did a lot of air ride, did a lot of hydraulics, like heavy fabrication was what I was into, and not so much metal shaping because I was really intimidated by it. Like I like I said, had this blockage. So I was just doing things that weren't so much metal shaping, but more what I was decent at, which was welding, fabrication, heavier materials. So chassis, suspensions, that sort of thing I was very comfortable with. But, and I still did like body modifications on cars. Like it doesn't mean I didn't weld sheet metal. Like I just didn't shape sheet metal that much. It was, I would still do tons of rust repair and you know, body panels, but very two-dimensional kind of flat forming things. I didn't shape the material. Like I didn't do, you know, sail panels on a chop and things like that. It wasn't in my wheelhouse of skills yet. So, you know, for years I was doing that. And then I guess after, you know, working with Brett, doing garbage compactors and then kind of drag cars on the side, I had my own shop with another friend of mine, Cam, who you guys may have heard me mention before. He's the gentleman that built the baby Buick body, and has recently passed. So that's kind of like why I'm building the baby Buick. It's just kind of like I want to finish it. It's another story. But Cam and I, we worked together. We built a 35 Chevy 3-window coupe together, chopped. It was a pretty cool little hot rod. We started building a T-bucket together. We did a bunch of work together, and it was great, you know. But we were kind of like a backyard shop. We just kind of like worked for cash and whatever, and it wasn't, you know, a real you know, industrial shop, and we just didn't, you know, we were having too much fun. We were having too much fun. So I eventually needed to get a real job again, and I did that through a referral from Brett. I started working at a drag racing shop. Put up 2 resumes. I put one out to this drag racing shop, Diversified Metalworks, and then I put one out to Make It Kustom Cycles, and that. The metalwork shop, like the Diversified Metalwork, they were drag racing chassis builders. So I went in there with a little bit of experience from Brett. He was one of their customers as well, had a bit of a referral. So, you know, started working there, learning a little bit more about TIG welding. And I mentioned in one of the videos that somebody was saying that my TIG welding was too hot, and I eventually learned it was because I was going too slow and it was taking too long for the metal to heat up. So I was just sitting there with too much metal, being slow. That was Rob from Diversified. So that was, kind of the number one thing that really clicked working for him. I only worked for him for 2 weeks. I felt kind of bad about it, but he was really cool at the end, and he totally understood where I was coming from. My resume was accepted at the motorcycle shop. So the deal there, at first I kind of told them, like, look, I can't do it. I took a job, at this drag racing shop, and I'm enjoying it, and I can't do it. Or actually, no, sorry, that's not what happened. I told them I'm full-time at the drag racing shop, but I'm single, and I, have all kinds of time. So how about I do 20 hours for you, and I'll do 40 hours over here. I'll just be young and dumb and do 60 hours a week, like, all the time. That's not dumb, actually. I think that's just like trying to get experience. But anyway, they were like, no, we don't have a fabricator right now. We need somebody full-time right now. That's what we need. So we're not going to do part-time while you still have another job. I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me then. So I guess we'll go our separate ways. And they called me back and they said, look, like, we want you to come here and do this. Like, we're kind of out of options. And I couldn't believe it that they were, trying to get me in there so bad. I guess there wasn't a lot of people at the time, looking for a job at a motorcycle shop as a fabricator. And I had zero motorcycle experience. I mean, zero. I didn't know an Evo motor from a shovel head, transmissions, like nothing. I knew I loved choppers and bikes, but I didn't know anything about them. So, they basically said, hey, like, we know what kind of fabrication you like doing. This is more up your alley than drag cars. And they were right. So I seceded, and I talked to Rob, and he was cool about it, and he let me go and pursue the chopper shop. And that was a wild ride. There's tons of stories there, but I'm not going to get into it. This video is kind of more about the metal shaping journey. So, but man, I got stories. So, anyway, at that shop, it was another lucky and incredible opportunity that I'm very grateful for, is that I was all of a sudden just like the only fabricator there. So like, it was terrifying. There was nobody to really show me how to do things in the fab shop. There was a couple guys there that I would bounce things off of all the time because they were very, knowledgeable, but they were not in there showing me how to fabricate these things. They were like, yes, that's safe. No, that's not safe. Yeah, that's going to work. No, that's not going to work. And, have you thought of this or have you thought of that? So it's also very important to be open to all kinds of criticism too. Like, you got to be able to take criticism. You can't get, obviously if somebody means it in a harsh way, then you can do whatever you want. But for the most part, you got to be open to, to be a student, you got to have the mentality that you don't know. So you want to like absorb. You're trying to absorb, Alan Tarasenko, we're still friends. Steve Dobbing, Hakeem, these are some of the guys, like Pete Staves. We all work together at this motorcycle shop. There's more guys too, and I'm forgetting lots. But anyway, Riley, Mike, Conkey. Anyway, this motorcycle shop, and the situation being that they didn't have a fabricator and I was kind of the only person there, that was an amazing opportunity for me because I had to do it all. There's frames, like, things happen there where, like, some of the bikes that went out previous had issues, and when they come back, I had to kind of troubleshoot and fix, some of the things where they were building pretty crazy stuff. So like some of the, some things were flexed or not quite right, and we had to fix stuff. I had to do a lot of fixes there, and be careful around crazy paint and things like that. But eventually, at that motorcycle shop, we got into, building bikes from mostly almost from scratch, you know, like building a frame. Like I built a frame jig to build a bike there called Knuckle Dragger, and just being there pushed my metalworking so fast because it was just necessity. Like we had crazy deadlines. We had, you know, it was a very volatile type environment, meaning that like things weren't just like even keel all the time. Like we had tons of times where it'd be like, okay, there's this bike show coming and like we need to have like a crazy bike done in like yesterday, you know, like get to work, you know, and so like I would, and I was young and I was loving it, so I did I was like yep, you know, like whatever it took. I mean, like I slept, you know, with my head in my hands, you know, on a table for 15-minute intervals whenever I just couldn't stay awake anymore. Like we're talking like days trying to get ready for a motorcycle show. Like that kind of pressure, you know, like, you know, it helps you grow. So those types of situations really helped a lot. But even at that motorcycle shop, like I wasn't doing a ton of metal shaping. You know, I would modify gas tanks. I would cut them up. I would dish the tanks, or I'd you know, extend them, or do modifications to them. But I wasn't shaping gas tanks from scratch. I was just, you know, small modifications, like whatever I could really do. I didn't fully get the whole process, you know, like I didn't have a mentor to show me. But all this time I've been asking these questions. Like we're talking years where I'm doing whatever fabrication I'm comfortable in, and whatever fabrication someone will pay me to do, that's what I'm doing, and just trying to find the areas that might allow more growth. You know, what mentor could help me grow. And so eventually, you know, we did the motorcycle thing, and that was, like I said, it was a wild ride. There's times where I was employed there and wasn't employed there, and then back to being employed there, and you know, eventually we built this bike called Knuckle Dragger, and this was like a diamond under pressure. You know, like we started with a stock Harley Davidson 10 weeks before the show in Sturgis, South Dakota. And like we're 10 weeks from like, I'm using 15 pounds of this bike and the rest we're not going to use. Building I don't know why we started with a whole bike. Like we could have started with just 2 pieces of frame, you know, built most everything from scratch, turned this bagger into an S&S knuckle powered 6-speed, you know, old school looking. Like we Hakeem and myself, we were kind of the ones that were trying to steer the boat as far as like how this bike was going to come out. You know, the initial drawings and designs, like this was Hakeem's brainchild, right? Still, we're very good friends. And so me and him were just like, and everybody else was involved too, but I'm talking about like he had the vision and I was doing the fabrication. He's also the painter, body person, and I would like to say that he's like the manager of the shop at the time as well, and the designer of this bike. But we worked on this thing like tirelessly, like it was our baby, like it was us paying for it. There's no way we could afford it, you know. But the objective of this bike was to be like the craziest we could even do, and we held nothing back, even though it was only a 10-week deadline. But what that bike did for us and our opportunities, you know, by us kind of like making it a point to make it crazy and making it a point to like go way further past what even makes sense for the time that we have to do this, you know. The bike did really well. It went to Sturgis. It won, you know, it won that show and became Baddest Bagger of the Year in 2013. And now this like little shop in Canada, you know, is being looked at seriously, more so because we made this, splash down there. And it's funny, I don't talk about it a lot, and a lot of you guys probably don't know, but then we got a TV show on History Channel. It was crazy. It was not just us. It was this whole TV show that was already planned, but it was about all these bagger shops, and some of which were at the show as well. And here these nobodies from Canada jump in, and they bring something really cool to the show. So they offered us a spot on the show, and my boss at the time, Len Edmondson, who I also, I'm grateful to the whole situation and being able to learn as much as I have from the experience of working at this motorcycle shop. Him, his family, like that's they're why I was able to do that. So grateful for the opportunities there. But yeah, he moved our whole shop to Phoenix, Arizona for this cool opportunity, and I was all for it. I thought, man, what a crazy thing to do, Let's just pick up and move and go build bikes and film this show or whatever. And TV shows are they look sweet. They're not fun to film, depending. I shouldn't say that. They're, I've had fun filming stuff with TV people before, for sure. But it was just the whole way about it was very rushed. We had a lot of work to do, and the shop was kind of like gaining popularity, and we didn't have enough guys, and it was just this kind of like, we were just trying to play catch up, and it was. It was a crazy experience. It was a crazy experience. We had to do it fast. Like, we had to move like right now. So, we got this opportunity. Luckily, Len and his family owned a house in Phoenix already. And I was able to stay there for a couple months while we were setting up until I found a place, and we were setting up the shop. And actually, Len purchased, a bunch of tools, like basically purchased all Jesse Rook, rest in peace. That's when I got to meet Jesse Rook, and he was in those, biker build off shows as well. And I looked up to him for his style, like his kind of like Schwinn inspired bike style, and his race inspired, bike building style. He's just the nicest guy too. I kind of like, I went on a little ride with him, and he introduced me to some of his friends, and he helped me get a place to stay down there, and so very grateful for that experience too. And I still talk to some of these people that he introduced me to. Tony, what's up? Hope you're working on your truck, that 41 Chevy. But anyway, so went down there. We started filming the show and building these bikes, and while being in the motorcycle industry at that time, I'd been with the shop for a few years, but I was very much kind of aware of all the other builders in the industry, and what inspired me, and what styles I liked, and the different ways people built their motorcycles. Like, motorcycles to me were another mind-opening experience, because the way people fabricate on a motorcycle is different than the way people fabricate on cars. Like when you build brackets on a car, you're not worried about the edges being super round and beautiful to look at. You're not worried about, like, some people are, obviously. I shouldn't say that, but for the most part, like when you're building the chassis, it's a lot more simple and functional, and you're building your gas tank, it's a lot more functional and simple. You're building your anything on a car is a little bit more functional and simple for the most part. I'm not speaking about all cars, but for the most part, then when you build it on a motorcycle, if you build a motorcycle from scratch, every single piece is seen. Everything gets looked at. It's naked, it's vulnerable, it's like, there it is, you can see it all. So when you're fabricating on a motorcycle, you have to have a little bit more care and time into a smaller piece, right? It allows you to be a little bit more creative, because every motorcycle has to have a frame, every motorcycle has to have a steering tube, every motorcycle has to have axles. Like, there's some parts on a motorcycle that they all have to have, so to make them interesting and cool and design it, it's like a very creative process. So I looked up to a lot of builders, one of which being Christian Sosa, and I very much admire like his Suavecito pomade bike, the Indian board tracker. That motorcycle, to me, just looking at it and trying to absorb, the bike, it helped kind of open my mind a little bit, because every single piece is made, like not just made, but like altered for the betterment of the design. Every single piece. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. So yeah, I had the opportunity to meet Christian through working on motorcycles, and we were in a tight spot. And I won't go into crazy details and stories, maybe another time, or if we do a live or something like that. But I was in a spot where I kind of felt like I had to make a decision. Things weren't going the way I hoped with the shop and the TV and all this kind of stuff. And, I was, had some milestones happening in my life that would dictate whether or not I lived in, the States or lived in Canada. So, and honestly, another huge factor, Phoenix is hot in the summer, and that is not a place, I don't think that I can just do it. But anyway, there's enough factors that I decided to leave the shop. I left the shop, and kind of all that stuff, and came back to Canada to start Japhands Kustoms, and that was 2014. But yeah, right when I was leaving, Christian was actually still down there, and he was still working on this other motorcycle, and we joke about it now as the bike that never got built. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I know it still exists. That bike doesn't just disappear. I know somebody knows where it is, but it was really cool motorcycle, man. As I like choppers and old school stuff and vintage things, but as far as the things that shop built, we were building baggers for, it's kind of like the big Harley baggers was the industry that we were in, and that's what the TV show is about. If you guys ever want to check it out, it's called Biker Battleground Phoenix. Only had one season. It didn't perpetuate, but anyway. So we were trying to incorporate the inspiration of the styles of vintage motorcycles and builds that we really liked, and I'm talking about Christian and Hakeem and myself. We had hands on this bike, and I'll tell you a little bit about the bike that never got built. I'll definitely clip in a picture somewhere here, but it was, because I love lowriders and hydraulics and making stuff low, and these baggers, they all had air ride, and we're all trying to be low. So the original intention of the build was to create, I know this is mixing styles, gasser-esque performance, vintage looking motorcycle. I'm talking the nastiest 55 Chevy ever. Maybe not 55 Chevy, because you'll think of the body lines and think of it differently, but the nastiest gasser ever. Maybe we're talking Willys type shapes, maybe something like that. But a nasty gasser. So we had Kendall Johnson Racing, I think, build this engine that was, supposed to be over 300 horsepower. Had, I made little intercoolers for it, twin intercoolers, and made a custom front end that was going to be a twin. Old Indian motorcycles have the leaf spring on the front for the front suspension. Well, I was going to do twin leafs, gasser style, twin front leafs, but they were going to be on a hydraulic, so you could ride around and have twin front leafs as your suspension, but the leaf bracket itself would be on a small hydraulic that was hidden in the bike that would just and you could drop the motorcycle onto the ground, you know, and same thing on the back. We were going to do coilover hydraulics on the back. But anyway, Christian worked on that bike, and he built these beautiful handmade, riveted, aluminum shaped saddlebags, like something that, you know, the industry had not seen yet. Same thing with the rear fender. Like, he shaped these beautiful, beautiful panels, and it was like, I was like, wow, like, this is incredible. Like, how is he even doing this? You know, like, I did not understand, you know, how that was done. And because I had never done it, nobody had ever shown me. And so, so anyway, time goes on. He also built these beautiful handlebars and these, like, this headlight mount, and he did all kinds of beautiful work on this bike. But anyway, time goes on. I go back home, go to, you know, japhandskustoms, start you know, doing whatever fabrication I can make some money on. I was, you know, producing you know, weighted shift knobs for another guy, and I was doing, you know, front suspension installs and air ride, and kind of back to the car stuff. Like, I wasn't doing motorcycles anymore. I was back to building cars. So whatever anybody would pay me to do, I was doing it. Rust repair, whatever. And eventually, Christian, I saw he was doing all these classes, right? He was teaching metal shaping. I was like, man, if there's ever a place to go learn how to metal shape, it's that guy. You know, I love his style. I love, you know, all, yeah, he blew me away with not only the fact that he was able to metal shape these pieces, but the style in which he made everything. You know, I really, really dig it. So anyway, I bought his Shape-o-Matic power hammer kit. Okay, I saw all these guys, you know, using this hammer. I liked how, you know, it wasn't very big. It was, you know, kind of only like this deep or so, maybe a little bit deeper, but small enough that you could have it in a 2-car garage. Like, it's not taking up too much space. So, and it was inexpensive. You know, there's no other way to dip into a power hammer for any cheaper than that. I promise. You know, unless you make it yourself. Like, his builder's kit is the most bang for your buck. I'm not just saying that, and you know, long before we started doing classes together, I've been saying this the whole time. It's a very impressive machine, and now, since we're on the topic, if you guys want a Shape-o-Matic power hammer builder's kit, you go to his website. You can order one. You use Make It Kustom, all one word, all capital letters, as a promo code. You'll even get a further discount, which is really cool. Anyway, so I had his hammer. I bought the kit, hadn't assembled it yet, and I took his course in 2018. So, like, we're not talking long ago. Like, this, I want to give you guys, like, the true, honest progression of metal shaping for me, and, like, where was the point where I just, like just not, I shouldn't do that. That sounds arrogant, but I mean, like, what is the point at which I got it? It clicked. Like, you know, now I can continue the journey because I found the path, right? So I took his class in 2018, and I'd been asking all these questions my whole life, you know, like, how does that work? How are you getting those shapes? Like, what does it take to make shape? You know, what does it take to make shape? Not form, because we can bend metal into form, but what does it take to make shape? I'm talking shrinking, stretching. How do you know, like, you know, like, what is the mystery? And that's what the class did for me, is it took the mystery out of it. So he broke it down. We, the first day of the class, well, this is it. It's kind of 4 days. And the first thing we do is Thursday evening is we call it the meet and greet. We make tacos, got some beer, refreshments, water, whatever. And we just talk to each other. You know, we talk about what we're passionate about. We talk about what we're working on. We talk about why we're at the class. What are we doing with metal shaping? Is this, like, are we totally green and just, like, want to try it because whatever? Are we building a motorcycle? We want to make our gas tank. Are we building a custom car and want to learn how to rust repair better? Like what are we there for? And Thursday night's amazing. It's usually my favorite part of it because everybody's just so excited. We all get to meet each other. It's like we all share this passion for metalworking, and we have some great food. And I mean, like these tacos, oh, they are always so good. Anyway, day 2 is Friday. So this is our first of 3 full days of metal shaping. So for me, this is still, when I took the class in 2014, I went there with my friend Kyle. We stayed at the shop. That's another thing, is like you can sleep at the shop if you want, and it helped me save money. Like I could barely afford it. It's hard if you don't have a ton of money to just throw at it. So I thought that was cool that he does that, and we do that today in our metal shaping classes. You can still come stay at the shop. It's an experience. There's a shower there, and you're working hard anyway, so you might as well. So anyway, Friday we start off with learning about the bowls, right? And what that does is it teaches you to what that does is it teaches you about shape and how the metal takes the shape. So it's not just, you don't just smash the crap out of it with a hammer. He teaches step by step why do you need to do these steps to achieve that shape. It's not just like you need to do these steps to achieve this shape. It's why do you need to do it? And understanding why for myself is what really helps, land the information. It helps me retain it, is if I can understand why. So that was the first question that was answered for me that helped me grow with that metal shaping class back in 2014. So we make these bowls, right? And the idea is to make a bowl, and not just make a bowl, but make another bowl like that bowl that you just made. So in order to do that, you need to understand the shape and why, and gradually bring that shape to match the other shape. The other thing that we learn is paper patterning. So paper is very much like metal. You can learn a lot from paper. And if you've been watching the channel, I do use it here and there, like whenever I'm doing that type of work, is that the paper, it doesn't shrink or stretch, so it'll wrinkle. So you put the paper on and you analyze the wrinkles and the arrangement of the paper on the shape. And that in itself is a technique and a tool that's so critical to duplicating shapes that it's one of the hardest things to do is to figure out the arrangement of paper and read the map at which those wrinkles are telling you the shape needs to become that, if that makes any sense. So that was the other thing that really, really helped, was to be able to break it down to the point of, if you can read this paper correctly and arrange the paper correctly, then you'll have an easier time making that shape. So that's day 1. And we're on hammers like day 1. That was the other thing that I loved about the classes. Like instantly, like we are making noise, we are, smashing metal, we are, doing this right away. Day 2 is the wire form and paper patterning. So we are creating a wire form and learning how to do it. It's actually a lot harder than it looks. So traditionally, like in this class, because Christian is a motorcycle builder, we're building motorcycle tanks, and it's a great way to perpetuate the learning from the bowl, because it's essentially just a bowl of a different shape that allows you to learn where to add shape and where not to add shape, because it's a little bit more complicated of a shape. Not meaning that we all have to make bowls, or gas tanks, but that's how the class was when I took it in 2014. So we're doing this, and we get to make a wire form and take a pattern from that form and understand you know, why these things, why these steps are necessary in the metal shaping process, and then cut out our panels and start shaping. Now, and these are all full days. We have, you know, awesome meals. Each day there's a big meal included in the class, which I thought was pretty cool too. Not all classes do that. And so then Sunday, we continue shaping our gas tanks, right? We're trying to finish the gas tank. That's what it was about. So, you know, I'm hammering away and I'm trying to, you know, make my gas tank and I just kind of like got in the zone, you know, like he's got so many different machines there that you kind of get a feel for each one. And some people like some more than others, and some machines shrink more than others. Some machines, you know, but that was the other thing that just like really made me, you know, so excited about working in this shop. Is like there's power hammers everywhere. We got planishing hammers and English wheels and sandbags and like just everything that you could possibly want to be able to talk to metal. So like you're just talking back and forth with your piece of metal all day Sunday, trying to learn as much as you can about the shape. And I did get my tank finished, and that was, you know, I had some previous motorcycle experience, so I knew the questions to ask, and things were just clicking. But this class, like I just saw every single person in the class get it. Like they got it. They may not have finished a tank. You know, not everybody finishes a tank, but everybody got it. And I was just so impressed, and everybody was just like the energy in the shop was just amazing. Everybody just was there to learn, and everybody's there to, you know, help each other out and help each other understand. And it was just amazing. So this class that he put on in 2014 literally changed my life, because it got me thinking in a different way about sheet metal. And it just was the perfect stepping stone for me to, you know, jump onto the path that I wanted to go with metal shaping. Not everybody is going to take this class to metal shape on cars, to make trunk skins or to make, you know, motorcycle tanks or scoops or whatever. Not everybody's going to do that. But you're going to find out where you want to go with it, because now you know what to do. You know, like this isn't the you know, advanced coach builders class where we're you know, making a fender for a Jaguar from scratch. This is the class that will take a beginner that knows nothing of power hammers and metal shaping, and it will answer all those questions for you and allow you to shape metal like immediately. You know, I don't know what else. So anyway, we're still trying to talk about the 2014 experience. So yeah, everybody in the class that I took in 2014, they all got it. You know, they all made shapes happen, and some of them bought machines and are still doing it. Some of them might not be doing it anymore, but I think most of them are still doing it, because I watch them on Instagram, and it's really cool. It's really cool to see that like this experience that I had, you know, is similar for a lot of people. So I think it's really neat. It's really neat. And so that changed my life in 20. Actually, it wasn't 2014. It was 2018. Sorry, I've been saying that. So that 2018 class that I took at Christian's, it's only 5 years ago. That's what really like my progress was like this, and then just like, because I knew what questions to ask now. I knew what more I needed to know. You know, I knew where to look. It's I still want to take more metal shaping classes. I still want to go to, you know, Ray Shalene's class. I still want to go to Lazzie's class. I still want to go to Clark Gillies' class. I would love to learn from as many people as possible in the trade. You know, Scotty Chops. Like, there's so many guys that I think that, you know, I could benefit on my metal shaping journey from learning from. But So since I took that class, I was able to do more metal shaping at my shop, Japhands Kustoms. I was able to use that hammer to make shapes I was never able to make. The other thing I learned in this class that really was like that eureka moment for me was that you don't have to have very expensive tools to jump into metal shaping. I thought in my head at this time, or up until this time, that you had to have $20,000 of equipment to get serious about metal shaping, and that's not true. It's not true at all. And that's something I learned from this class. Christian's first power hammer, he built it from scrap. Like the dies, I thought that the dies they have to be special. They have to be polished, and they have to be heat treated, and they have to be, they have to be special. If you're going to use them every day and coach build Bugattis, yeah, they better be super, super nice, But if you want to jump into metal shaping and make some shape, you don't need to spend $30,000 or $20,000 or even $10,000 or even $5,000. Like, I'm talking about, you can make like heavy shapes with a stump and a hammer. Okay, you don't need crazy stuff. It's nice to use power hammers when you have a tight timeline, like 3 days to be in a class to learn as much as you can about metal shaping. Yeah, you're going to want to use a power hammer so that your arm doesn't fall off. But when you go home, you don't need power hammers. If you can afford it, grab the power hammer kit. Sosa's Shape-o-Matic, that thing's amazing. But you don't need crazy stuff. So he's built this machine thinking about those people too. And that's why it's such a good price point. But I'm not trying to just get into all that. It's when I was there, I learned that making tools and jumping into metal shaping is something that anybody can do. You can make your own hammer. You can make your own shrinking stump. You can make your own dollies. Like, you don't need to go buy stuff. It's sweet if you can. It jumps you ahead. But you can make all this stuff. Some of the best metal shaping hammers, I feel like so many people have these. You take the top of a gas cylinder for welding and you weld a bar to it. Like, that doming hammer it's amazing. So I guess one of the main purposes of this talk and this video is to let people know that metal shaping is something that you can pursue at any skill, at any age, at any, there's ways to do it. And it's something that I hope that everybody tries if that's something they want to do. Like, I don't want to see anybody out there not try metal shaping if that's something they want to do. Watch the videos online, not just mine, but there's lots of guys out there. If you search metal shaping, there's lots of information out there, and just go for it. Like, try it. At the same time, now, I'm so grateful that I'm able to do classes with Christian and kind of guide more people to have that experience that I had of, understanding why shaping happens and how to continue my shaping journey or their shaping journey. That in itself is it's amazing. So we have a class, one more class this year, and it's March 30th to April 2nd, and there's a few spots still available. If you're interested in metal shaping, this is the class. Like, I'll be down there with Christian, and we will both be with you for 3 days straight and bring you through the same experience. Tacos, making bowls, making wireframes, making paper patterns, and making your shape, be it a gas tank, a hood scoop, a distributor cove, matching a shape on a panel like a hood or something like that. Whatever questions you have about metal shaping, that is what we're trying to answer with this class. So there's a link in the description for the class if you're so inclined to go check it out. Please do. This is the last one that we're going to do. We're not going to do any in the summer because it's too hot and I'm not into it. No, neither is he. It's just too hot in Vegas in the summer. So we're going to try and get to him in the fall. But as of right now, this is our last class of metal shaping. that we have dates for. So March 30th to April 2nd, it's in Las Vegas. It's right off the strip. It's easy to get to. You're gonna have an awesome time, and we'll see you down there. So, but yeah, this. Oh, and the other thing about the metal shaping class that has changed a little bit since the 2014 class is that we bring down the Mother Tucker hammers and shrinking stumps and teach how to shrink by hand effectively and efficiently with a shrinking stump, so that when if you don't have a power hammer, you can still do this kind of shrinking. And anyway, that's another part that I actually bring and teach you guys in this class. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to know from you guys, like, if any other things that you guys want to see on the channel, let me know. I like reading all the comments. I don't get to every single one, but I do my best. And I just want to thank you guys for all being on this channel, being supportive and positive in the comments, and just I enjoy sharing the passion of metal shaping with all you guys. So thank you very much. And I think I'm going to cut this video here. It does seem like it's running on a little bit longer. And if there's anything else you'd like me to elaborate on, some people enjoy story time, some people don't. So this video is kind of a tester. Like, do you guys want to hear about this stuff or not? I don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this whole metal shaping journey and the whole YouTube thing and all of it. So it's all because of you guys. So I appreciate it very much. So, and yeah, so don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications, tell a friend, join the custom crew if you want to. Oh, and if you're in Australia, we do have some classes. I'm coming to you guys. So Hair & Forbes, Machinery House, Motor Retro, we're all going to be doing a couple classes in Sydney in May. I believe it's the second and third week end in May. I'll also be at the Maguire's Motor X show first weekend of May, 6th and 7th, I believe, and then also the Sydney Hot Rod and Custom show at the end of May. So we'll hopefully see you guys there as well. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.